Breaking tonight, a motorist who federal officials said tried to run down an immigration agent in Minneapolis is dead tonight. She was shot by the ICE agent. The FBI and state law enforcement are investigating. Homeland Security Director Kristi Noem calls it an act of domestic terrorism and says the driver tried to kill the agent. The mayor of Minneapolis says that is, quote, garbage. Minnesota's governor says the tragedy was, quote, totally predictable and totally avoidable. We're awaiting a news conference at some time from the Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. But first, senior correspondent Mike Tobin is in Minneapolis with the very latest. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening, Brett. And the Minneapolis City Council has now identified the 37-year-old woman who was shot and killed today. Renee Nicole Good is her name. And as tensions are once again mounting in Minneapolis, Governor Tim Walz has put out a warning order to the National Guard, telling them to prepare to activate if needed. Now, DHS says the ICE officer who fired the shots fired in defense of his life and the lives of fellow agents. There are a number of videos that are circulating online. When you see one of the videos that shows the agent who actually fired the shots, what you can see is 3 agents on the ground on Portland Avenue to the south side of the city of Minneapolis. They approach a Honda SUV. It should be noted that we have just learned through multiple ICE sources that none of them had their body cameras activated at the time. But what you see is with these agents on the ground, one of them was standing in front of that Honda SUV. The Honda SUV lunges forward. The agent draws his sidearm and fires 2 shots. At least one of the shots went through the windshield of that SUV. The SUV rolled forward and struck 2 cars that were parked along the street. Now, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said the vehicular aggression amounts to domestic terrorism.
It was an act of domestic terrorism. What happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle.
Gunpoint.
But there was more bipartisan concern about the president's renewed interest in acquiring Greenland.
Why not rule out taking it by military force?
Past leaders have often ruled things out. That's not something this president does. All options are always on the table.
Some Republicans putting a line in the sand.
To invade Greenland would be weapons grade stupid. And Donald Trump is not weapons grade stupid.
Others taking interest.
First of all, Denmark's claims are nebulous. People sort of skip over that page in history of their claims to Greenland.
The Danish prime minister said hostile takeover by the U.S. would mark the end of NATO, to which the president said, "We will always be there for NATO, even if they won't be there for us."
Let me get a quick question on Venezuela, and then we got to take a break, okay? I think the president is out with a new post right now. If do we have that, Claudine? Right. I've just been informed Venezuela is going to be purchasing only American-made products with the money they receive from our new oil deal. These purchases will include, among other things, American agricultural products, American-made medicines, medical devices, and equipment, the president says, to improve Venezuela's electric grid and energy facilities. In other words, Venezuela is committing to doing business with the United States of America as their principal partner. A wise choice, very good thing for the people of Venezuela and the United States. And his patented thank you for your attention to this matter at the end. So this is adding to what he said last night with the 50, 60 million barrels of oil. What do you make of this latest pronouncement on Venezuela?
Yeah, it's great news if it's true. I'm not sure who they're negotiating with down on the Venezuelan end of these discussions. Of course, there was another Truth Social post out earlier today saying that Venezuela is going to completely sever all ties with countries like Russia and China, importantly, and Cuba. I'm not sure if this is the administration sort of setting goals or if they've actually cut these deals, and if they've cut these deals, with whom? Look, I think this is a very, very fluid situation. I'm not sure. I think the deal may change several times over the course of the coming days and weeks because, again, in large part, I'm not sure who's running Venezuela, and I'm not sure anybody else does either.